Hello, I'm Gene Masuda, representing the 4th District in Pasadena. Welcome to Pasadena's final Disaster Recovery Town Hall meeting. The City of Pasadena has been providing recovery information for all residents that has had property impacted by the Eaton fire. Our hearts go out to everyone that has lost property damaged by the historic fire, and we know that it's not easy for any of you. Today we have a very special guest, which is our County Assessor, Jeff Prang. He is very experienced, and he's no stranger to Pasadena. He can fill in a lot of the answers to your questions that you have regarding your property, like assessment, especially after a major fire. Before I introduce him, I want to thank the Pasadena staff, the federal, the state, the County of Los Angeles, and other agencies that have collaborated with Pasadena to help the residents get information to rebuild their homes. That's our goal, to help our residents get that information so they can rebuild their homes and join our neighborhoods again. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome County Assessor Jeff Prang.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Masuda. It's great to be here, to have this opportunity to be able to speak to the people of the city of Pasadena and share some important information for anybody who owns property in the city. So I want to talk about some of the programs that are designed to help people who've been impacted by a natural disaster, in this case, the fire. The main program that my office offers is something we call misfortune and calamity. So anybody who's had their property damaged or destroyed by the fire is entitled to property tax relief. By filing a misfortune and calamity form, we will temporarily reduce your property assessment and therefore your property taxes to reflect that damage or the total destruction of the property. And let me give you an example. Let's say your home was worth $1 million. 50% attributed to the land and 50% to the building. If the home totally burned down, we would lower your assessment to only reflect the value on the land. That would remain in place until your property is repaired or rebuilt. At that point, we will restore your pre-fire property tax assessment base. You would not be reassessed at a market value, but your old base would be restored. There's a couple qualifications that are important in order to qualify for this program. The damage to your property has to exceed $10,000 in value, and that can include smoke damage. Secondly, you need to file the misfortune and calamity form, also known as the ADS 820, within 12 months of the date of the fire, although we are asking the legislature to adopt legislation to extend that application period. You can apply by mailing in, accessing a form on our website and printing it and mailing it in. You could email it, or you could actually submit your application from your smartphone if that's what you have, if you don't have access to a desktop computer. The other big program that we have is called a decline in value. A decline in value is what happens when the market rate of your value of your property falls beneath the assessed value. And this is going to be particularly applicable for those people whose homes did not burn but are in the burn areas and may be uninhabitable, they may be smoke damaged, they may be environmentally unsustainable because of what the damage around them. This is another temporary reduction in the property assessment and the taxes to reflect that temporary reduction in the value of the property. We're also looking to reduce the value of land. If a building has totally been destroyed and the land is impacted, there will be cases where the land will also be reduced temporarily in assessed value. One of the reasons why it's important to file the misfortune and calamity application although I did want to emphasize, we're going to be lowering the property values in assessments for all property that's damaged, whether or not you submit the misfortune and calamity form. But the form is important because it does a couple things. The first thing it does is it lets us know where you are and how to reach you and where to send your adjusted tax bills. But also, the moment you submit that form, we send that to the treasurer tax collector, who will automatically postpone your property taxes. The governor has issued an executive order which postpones all property taxes for property within the zip codes of the fire damage until April of 2026. If you've already paid your first installment of your taxes in December, and you have the next installment coming up in April, and your property was damaged or destroyed, we urge you not to pay that property tax bill in April, because we are going to be recalculating your assessment and issuing a corrected tax bill to reflect the damage or the destruction. A couple other things I need to emphasize. If you live in the damage area, and you've had the property in your family's possession for multiple generations, it's important to make sure that you are the owner of record. There are cases, particularly in the Pasadena area, where people have had a home in the family for many generations. They may have inherited from the parents a decade, 2 decades ago, but they never came down to the county to update the deeds. If your deeds are not updated, then it may be your home, you are not the homeowner of record, and you may not qualify for the property tax benefits until you've made those corrections. Once you've determined whether or not you are the actual homeowner, you have 6 months in order to make those corrections, and we can help you to ensure that you get those property tax benefits that you are entitled to. A couple other things I wanted to emphasize that's particularly important for victims of the fire. We urge you to sign up for our homeowner alert. The homeowner alert is very important because there's a lot of people trying to take advantage of property owners through various types of scams. You may be familiar that there's a lot of occurrences of title and deed fraud in recent years. But by signing up for the homeowner alert, and if anybody attempts to commit title fraud against you, you'll receive an email notification within 48 hours with instructions on how to correct that. This is actually a good policy program for anybody who owns property, but it's especially important for those who are in the burn areas. If you don't sign up for our email homeowner alert, the first warning that you'll get that something's been recorded on your deed will be with a letter in the mail from the registrar recorder, usually 30 to 45 days later. And finally, the other thing you can do is you can sign up for a personal profile on our website associated with your property. This will allow you to update your mailing address to make sure you're getting the tax bill in case your property has been destroyed. It'll allow you to file for the homeowner's exemption. It'll help you to keep track of your misfortune and calamity application. So we are available. We're either by phone, in person at the disaster centers, or at our offices. You can schedule an appointment with our office online and have a virtual appointment with one of our staff members from over the internet. But we are happy to be of service any way we can and to meet you where you are. Hopefully this information will be helpful to you, but please sign up. Remember to file your applications and sign up for the homeowner alert. And at this point, it's my pleasure to introduce the Director of the Libraries and Information Services, Tim McDonald.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Tim McDonald, Library Director for the City of Pasadena, and I'd like to extend my sympathies to those impacted by the Eaton fire. I hope that the library can be a home for the community and resilience as we recover from this disaster. I'd like to thank Pasadena Media for allowing me to take a few minutes to share some information on the library's response to the Eaton fire. Specifically, I'll cover 4 points over the next few minutes. What is the impact to our beautiful library buildings in Pasadena and to the personnel who work in them? We'll talk about the role that library staff members played in the city's response to the disaster. And then finally, what are the adaptations that we're making to our library services currently now that libraries are reopened to meet the immediate needs of the community. So let's start with our library buildings. This is relatively good news, no major damage. The windstorm did cause some minor damage to library buildings. La Pintoresca lost a few windows, requiring them to be replaced. Some huge some huge tree branches came down at the Hill Avenue Branch Library that caused us to repair some of the roof tiles and also impacted the fence around that beautiful courtyard on the south side of the building. Beside that, as was the case across the city, large amount of debris and tree limbs needed to be cleaned up at all of our library branches. And I'd like to say thank you right now to our colleagues in forestry and in building repairs and maintenance that helped us get back on our feet and are still helping us today. Libraries are reopened to the public now. Starting on January 8th, all libraries were closed. Building assessments for safety were conducted. Cleanups began and staffing adjustments were made. Every library received a deep cleaning. Air scrubbers were installed to help purify the air, and air testing and environmental testing was conducted. And I'm very happy to say that all of the results today are far below the strict EPA thresholds that allowed us to reopen the libraries. Our library staff were impacted by the fires, and I'd like to share a little bit about that with you too. Those city employees are not just staff members, they're community members too. And I knew you would care about knowing how they made it through the fires too. 22 members of the library staff were under evacuation orders during the fire. 7 lost their homes, unfortunately. Others were impacted in various ways. Some were voluntarily, they evacuated from their homes. Others had close friends and family members who lost their homes and are currently assisting them. I'd like to take a moment to thank the city's Human Resource Department, City Manager's Office, and others that provided much needed relief to those employees, helping them with temporary housing if it was needed and other essential resources to get back up on their feet. Even despite all those challenges, the library team felt very strongly that it was important to reopen libraries as soon as possible as a point of service and community gathering for the community. And we're very happy to have those neighborhood libraries reopened again today. But first, the city called on library staff to fill emergency response roles. So if you were driving around the city and noticed our libraries and being closed and thought, well, they look like they're in good shape, why isn't that open today? Because the library staff were filling other essential critical services throughout the city, and I'll highlight a few of those right now. 2 members of the library team joined the Emergency Operations Center, providing critical communication support, providing things like getting information on the city's website, writing press releases, coordinating media appearances for our city leaders to share important information to the community, translating information into Chinese, Spanish, Armenian for our community members, and signage for the evacuation center, disaster response recovery center, and other duties. A couple of the activities that those members were fulfilling on daily 12-hour shifts at the city's emergency operations center. Our youth services team at the library partnered with Pasadena Unified School District to provide temporary emergency child care while schools were closed to allow families have a safe place for their children to spend the day and have nutritious meals. So enrollment was capped at 200 individuals, and those enrollments filled up, and those kids had a safe place to be at Jefferson Library while schools were closed. 29 library employees were assigned to the city's evacuation center, making sure evacuated community members had a bed to sleep in for the night, and really being an ear for those community members to share their stories after a traumatic experience, which was something that many of those community members needed. Beside that, library employees were stationed at distribution sites to provide water and personal protective equipment, PPE, for free, so you could see them out in the street directing traffic or loading water cases into cars. Other library employees were stationed at Pasadena City College as part of the Disaster Recovery Center, connecting people to resources in the aftermath of the fires. Once libraries reopened, the programs and services in our libraries adapted to meet the immediate needs of community members. And I'll highlight a few of those things you'll see in our libraries now. First of all, we updated some of our policies to meet the immediate needs that community was facing. For example, those that did not have identification readily available. We made it easier for them to have access to our library materials and get a library card in the event that they lost their identification. Same thing with library materials. We updated our practice to waive fines on any books that were lost in the fire. And finally, we extended due dates on books and the length of time that reserved materials were kept on shelves so people could have additional time to meet those needs. What's happening inside libraries looks different too. Outreach tables from FEMA and Small Business Administration were set up at 4 libraries across the city to provide critical one-on-one assistance to small business owners and individuals impacted by the fires. Also, the Altadena Library District staff, whose library was closed, found a home in our libraries and were able to deliver programs and services to their residents at our locations too. Library branches continue to distribute for free N95 masks. You can stop in at any neighborhood library branch to get one. Staff is coordinating with school district staff to provide critical library outreach services to schools, since so many schools are relocated to new sites at this time. In addition, the pre-K program at Cleveland has opened up at Jefferson, right alongside our library staff at Jefferson. And finally, all of those traditional library services that people depend on are available again to the community. So access to dependable Wi-Fi, printing and copying services, the ability to check out books and other resources for free at any of our neighborhood libraries is open, or just a quiet place to come and relax. We look forward to seeing you at the library. And I'll close with an anecdote. This was an Instagram post that was recently shared that I think highlights what we'd like to be to the community moving forward in our libraries, and I'll read it out loud to you. Today, I went to my neighborhood library for the first time since we evacuated and almost cried at seeing the librarians' familiar faces. I never thought that would be the ultimate comfort, but of course it was. Shout out to La Pintoresca Library. I love you. And we hope that we can be a center for the community moving forward, and we'd love to see all of you at the library. With that said, it's my pleasure to announce our next speaker, Jennifer Guess-Mayo, the Assistant General Manager for External Affairs at Pasadena Water and Power.
Great, thank you for that, Director McDonald. I really want to start by saying, obviously, hello, and to start with saying thank you. Thank you to our city employees, our city manager's office, our city council, and all of the agencies that were involved. I want to thank Pasadena Media, and particular thanks to Lisa Derdarian and her crew in the Public Information Office of the city. And lastly, I want to thank you. I want to thank the community. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your resilience. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your patience, and for being with us here today. So I wanted to share a couple of updates that we've had, but I'll start with a really quick recap. So we know in leading up to the fire, it actually was preparation for a windstorm, a very strong one, and that did occur. And we lost, at peak, probably about 10,000 on power outages. And those were restored within 2 days, the vast majority within hours. So I want to say thank you to our hardworking water and power crews who worked 24/7 to make sure that our services stayed on. But as a result of the East Eaton fire, we did sustain some damage to a reservoir and a pump station, and out of an abundance of caution, we did issue a do not drink water notice. And as a way of getting the message out, we had mass notifications through email, we had social media, press releases, and in response to that, of course, we want to make sure that people have water to drink. Now that do not drink water notice was in place for about a week and a half, and we gradually lifted it over time in close working relationships with the State Water Resources Control Board. We're also very lucky to have our own water quality staff and our own water quality lab that's certified by the state of California, and they were out there testing every single day, systematically testing, and at the end was able to confirm safe drinking water quality. But during this time, people needed water to drink. So we stood up a bottled water distribution center, and this was over the course of about 6 or 7 days. And we, over that time, in partnership with County Public Works and with dozens of volunteers, not just from our department, from every department in the city. You just heard Director McDonald talk about the volunteer efforts from his staff in the library, and they were part of this as well. But at the end, we distributed over 500,000 bottles of water, and this was servicing more than 10,000 vehicles. And this doesn't include a number of walk-ups. We had people coming up with just carts to take water with them if they were, too close maybe to drive up. And so this demonstrates that huge volunteer effort. What isn't reflected here is the volunteer effort in other places, including the FEMA Disaster Recovery Center, as well as the Evacuee Center that was held at the Pasadena Convention Center. And this was to provide comfort to some of our seniors, our displaced families, as well as just providing information on where they can get aid, even if it wasn't one of our customers. One of the useful tools that we had, and want to give thanks to our IT staff who stood up an interactive GIS map so that folks could enter their address to see if they fell within the do not drink water zone, and then we could provide them with some additional information to provide them what they could do, information about whether or not they could shower, brush their teeth, and those things. And so we posted frequently asked questions on the website, along with a lot of technical information in case people wanted to know more and wanted to dive a little deeper. So that was all made available publicly. And after that, as people were returning to their homes, we wanted to provide some additional assistance in case it was needed. So, for example, if there was sustained damage to the water meter and you experienced excessive water usage, and you may not have known about that during the times of the fire, we have an existing program called our Water Leak Assistance Program, which is still available to all customers if they experience something that fit within the criteria. But for customers that were in the evacuated zones or voluntary evacuated zones, if they experience additional high usage of water during the periods of January 7th through February 6th, they can apply for the water leak assistance, but we actually raised the amount that they could qualify for. So you could get up to $5,000 per customer or per water meter. And again, it has to fall within that time frame. It's a one-time benefit, and if the customer had participated in the water leak assistance program for something unrelated earlier in the year, that does not preclude you from participating in this program now. So you can participate in this, and it is first come, first served on as long as the funding is available. And encourage you to go to the website, pwpweb.com/water leak. And you can download the application, you can email it to us at the email address you see on screen, or you can call us. We have a call center at 626-744-4005, and you can see the business hours available there. Also wanted to summarize, we have a suite of programs that are available for residential customers, commercial customers. If you have energy needs, water needs, we have a whole selection of programs available. So we include direct installation programs where we can come to your house and install a number of devices. For customers, it's up to $4,500 in those benefits in water and electricity, energy incentives and devices. For customers, we have for commercial customers, we have a direct installation program that can give you up to $7,500 in water and energy saving equipment and technologies. We also have electrification incentives for your home as well as your car. You can get used EV incentives. You can get electric vehicle charging at your home or your business. So we have really a suite for whatever is in need. There's also for low-income assistance programs, we can get bill credits if you meet the income qualification guidelines. There are also bonus rebates. So if you already qualify for the income qualified programs, you can get bonus rebates on top of those programs I just mentioned. So for example, if you have a dishwasher rebate, you can get something on top of what you would already get. And I think, off the top of my head, I think it's about maybe another $20. Don't hold me to it. I would recommend going to the website, pwpweb.com, to look at all of those details. But I said all that to say that we're here for you. We are still continuing to look at our programs and find out how we can continue to enhance things. And just like the water leak assistance program, there is more coming. And we, in partnership with the City Public Information Officer, who I'll introduce in just a second, really helping us get the word out. But we also welcome any questions, any ideas. We are available on social media. So this is our social media. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter. You can also email us directly. And the last thing I want to leave with you is that PWP also just launched a smartphone app. So this is available on the iPhone and the Google Marketplace. So you can download it, and all of the programs I just talked about, you can apply for them on your phone. You can look at your bill. You can see if maybe you have some excess water usage there, and you can report an outage. So this is something we just made available, and we'd love your feedback on that. But ultimately, it's there for you to make your life more convenient, so you can move on and do what you need to do to live your lives in this beautiful community of ours. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Lisa Derderian, our Public Information Officer.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you again for joining us for what we're calling our final town hall meeting regarding disaster recovery. But due to high demand, we will be continuing more than likely on a bi-monthly basis. And we want to bring you information, clarify any misinformation out there, so we know that an ongoing segment pertaining to that will be beneficial. So stay tuned for more. Again, we thank you very much for joining us this past month, every Friday. And we're always there for you if you have additional questions. cityofpasadena.net, Eaton Fire link, and or you can call our City Service Center at 626-744-7311. Thank you again, and have a great weekend.